The champagne tasted bitter. Or maybe that was just Diana's mood as she watched her cousin Marcus bounce around his engagement party like an overexcited puppy. She loved him, truly, but being here meant facing the inevitable firing squad of family questions about why she was still single at 26, why her career as a wedding photographer wasn't a real job, and whether she'd gained weight since Thanksgiving. Diana. Her Aunt Cheryl materialized beside her, holding a glass of Prosecco in one hand and judgment in the other. "Sweetheart, you look tired. Are you eating enough? You know, my friend's daughter just got engaged to a dentist, very stable career. I could introduce you." Deanna forced a smile that felt like it might crack her face. "I'm doing great, Aunt Cheryl. Business is actually booming right now." "Oh, that's nice, dear. But when are you going to settle down? Your eggs won't last forever." Before Deanna could formulate a response that wouldn't get her disowned, someone cleared their throat beside them. She turned to find a man standing there, tall and broad-shouldered in a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her rent. His dark hair was styled with casual precision, and his hazel eyes held an amused glint that suggested he'd heard every word of that mortifying exchange. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth and confident. "I'm looking for Deanna Preston. Marcus said she's the photographer who did his engagement photos, and I wanted to discuss hiring her for an upcoming event." Diana blinked, confused because Marcus hadn't mentioned anyone wanting to book her. But the stranger was looking at her expectantly, one eyebrow slightly raised in what she recognized as a lifeline being thrown. "That's me," she said quickly. "Deanna Preston, Quinn Donnelly." He extended his hand, and when she shook it, his grip was warm and firm. "Could we talk somewhere quieter? It's hard to discuss business details over the music." Aunt Cheryl's eyes had gone wide. "Oh, well, don't let me keep you from work, dear. We'll catch up later." She practically scurried away, probably to tell the other aunts that Diana was at least talking to a handsome man, even if it was just about business. As soon as Cheryl was out of earshot, Quinn's professional expression shifted into something more genuine, a half-smile that transformed his entire face. "Sorry for the ambush. You looked like you needed rescuing, and I've been dodging similar questions all night about why I came alone." Deanna laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing. "Thank you. That was actually brilliant, though now my aunt will probably tell everyone I'm dating a potential client, which is somehow both unprofessional and exactly what she wants for me. We could always hide out for a bit and make it convincing." He gestured toward the terrace doors. "I actually could use some air. These things always feel suffocating." She should probably get back to mingling, but the idea of spending more time with this stranger, who just saved her from Aunt Cheryl's well-meaning torture, was too appealing to pass up. "Lead the way." The terrace was blessedly empty and cooler than the crowded ballroom. String lights created a soft glow above them, and the city stretched out in the distance, a carpet of twinkling lights against the dark sky. Deanna leaned against the railing, breathing in the fresh air. "So how do you know Marcus?" she asked. Quinn stood beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "Business connection, actually. His company has done some consulting work for mine. He invited me to celebrate, and I figured I should make an appearance. He's my cousin. We grew up together. He was the annoying little kid who used to put frogs in my shoes, and now somehow he's getting married before me, which apparently makes me a family disappointment. You don't strike me as someone who'd care much about disappointing expectations." Deanna glanced at him, surprised. "What makes you say that? Wedding photographer isn't exactly a typical 9-to-5 career. It takes guts to pursue something creative and build your own business." He turned to face her more fully. "Plus, You've got paint on your wrist. Looks like red acrylic. Either you're extremely messy with nail polish or you have other artistic hobbies you're passionate about. She looked down at her wrist, where sure enough, a small smudge of crimson paint decorated her skin. She must have missed it in her rush to get ready. Observant. I paint sometimes when I'm not taking pictures. It helps me see things differently. I'd like to see your work sometime. The way he said it, casual but genuine, made something flutter in Deanna's chest. Before she could respond, the terrace door burst open and her cousin Sarah stumbled out, clearly several drinks past tipsy. "There you are." Sarah grabbed Deanna's arm. "Aunt Cheryl said you were out here with some gorgeous man talking business, but this doesn't look like business. Are you finally getting some action? Because honestly, Deanna, it's been like 2 years since Trevor, and you need to get back out there before you forget how everything works." Deanna wanted the terrace floor to open up and swallow her whole. "Sarah, maybe we should get you some water." "I'm fine. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You're too picky. Not every guy has to be perfect, like this one." She waved vaguely at Quinn. "He's hot. Does he have a job? Does he have all his teeth? Then what are you waiting for?" Quinn, to his credit, looked more amused than offended. "I do have all my teeth," he confirmed solemnly. "See, keeper." Sarah patted Deanna's cheek with the coordination of a baby deer on ice. "Don't mess this up." Another cousin appeared to collect Sarah, apologizing profusely as she guided the drunk woman back inside. Deanna covered her face with her hands, mortified beyond measure. "I am so sorry. My family is a lot." "Your family is honest, which I actually find refreshing." Quinn was definitely trying not to laugh. And for what it's worth, 2 years isn't that long to be single. Some people rush into things too fast and miss out on finding something real. Diana lowered her hands, studying his face in the dim light. "You sound like you're speaking from experience." "Maybe. I was engaged once, about 3 years ago. She was perfect on paper. Came from the right family, had the right connections, said all the right things. Took me way too long to realize she was more interested in what I could provide than who I actually was." "That's awful," he shrugged, but there was old hurt in his eyes. "It taught me to be more careful and more honest about what I actually want instead of what I'm supposed to want." Before Deanna could ask what he meant, the terrace door opened again. This time it was Uncle Robert, her father's brother and the family patriarch who thought his opinions were law. "Diana, there you are. Your mother is looking for you. And who's this?" The warmth drained from Quinn's expression, replaced by the polished professional mask he'd worn earlier. "Quinn Donnelly. I was just discussing a potential photography project with Miss Preston." Uncle Robert's eyes narrowed. "Donnelly. Any relation to the Donnelly Industrial Corporation?" "That would be my family's company, yes." Diana's brain stuttered to a halt. Donnelly Industrial Corporation was one of the largest manufacturing conglomerates in the country. She'd photographed a wedding at one of their factories once, converted into an industrial chic venue. Which meant Quinn wasn't just some business guy. He was probably seriously wealthy. Uncle Robert's entire demeanor changed, becoming almost obsequious. "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Donnelly. Deanna's quite talented. I'm sure whatever project you're considering, she'd do an excellent job. Very reliable, very professional." The same uncle who'd told her last Christmas that photography was a phase and she should get a real job was now practically offering to be her agent. Deanna felt anger rise in her throat, hot and bitter. "Actually, Uncle Robert, Quinn and I were in the middle of a conversation, a private one." Robert blinked, clearly unused to being dismissed. Of course. I'll tell your mother you'll be right in." He retreated, but not before giving Diana a significant look that promised she'd hear about this later. As soon as the door closed, Diana turned to Quinn. "I'm sorry." He's usually not quite that transparent about being a social climber. "Don't apologize. I'm used to it." Quinn's jaw was tight. "That's what I meant about people being interested in what I can provide. The second your uncle heard my last name, I stopped being a person and became a commodity. For what it's worth, I didn't know who you were. I was actually just enjoying talking to someone who seemed real for once." His expression softened. "That's exactly why I didn't lead with it. I wanted to talk to you like a normal person, not have you see dollar signs." "I don't see dollar signs." Diana stepped closer, emboldened by the evening's surreal turn. "I see someone who rescued me from my aunt's interrogation, and who noticed paint on my wrist, and who apparently also hates these kinds of parties as much as I do." "I don't hate this one anymore," Quinn said quietly. His gaze held hers, intense and searching. "Diana, I know this is sudden, and maybe the champagne is talking, but would you want to get out of here? There's a diner about 10 minutes away that makes the best pancakes in the city. We could continue this conversation somewhere with fewer relatives." Every practical bone in Diana's body screamed that this was crazy. She just met this man an hour ago. He was clearly way out of her league financially. This could be a disaster waiting to happen, but she was so tired of being practical. Tired of playing it safe and still ending up alone and judged. And there was something about Quinn, something in the way he looked at her like she was fascinating rather than disappointing, that made her want to take the risk. "I love pancakes," she said. His smile was brilliant. "Yeah? Yeah. Let me just grab my jacket." They snuck out like teenagers escaping a party they were too cool for, which was ridiculous considering they were both well into their 20s. But it felt good, thrilling even, to dodge Diana's mother in the lobby and slip into the night air. Quinn had a car waiting, and Diana raised an eyebrow when the driver opened the door to a sleek black sedan. "Company car," Quinn explained, looking almost sheepish. "I know it's pretentious." "It's actually pretty comfortable," Diana admitted as she sank into the leather seat. "Way better than my car, which makes a weird grinding noise every time I turn left. You should get that checked out. Grinding noises are never good." "It's on my list, somewhere between deep clean apartment and learn to cook something besides pasta." "The list is very long and mostly theoretical." Quinn laughed, a genuine sound that made Diana smile. The driver, an older man who Quinn addressed as Vincent, pulled smoothly into traffic. Within minutes, they were pulling up outside a small diner that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 1970s, complete with vinyl booths and a flickering neon sign. "This is your favorite place?" Diana asked, surprised. "Vincent introduced me to it. Best food in the city, trust me." Inside, the diner was nearly empty except for a couple of late-night shift workers and a woman reading a book at the counter. The waitress, whose name tag reads Shirley, greeted Quinn like an old friend. "The usual spot, honey, please. And Shirley, this is Diana." "Diana, Shirley makes the pancakes that will ruin all other pancakes for you." They slid into a booth near the window, and Diana found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't all evening. This felt real. Not the performed elegance of Marcus's engagement party, but actual comfort and warmth. "So," she said as Shirley brought them menus and coffee without asking, "CEO of a manufacturing corporation. That's got to be intense." Quinn grimaced. "Technically not CEO yet. My father still holds that title, though he's been stepping back lately. I'm essentially running operations, but the official transition keeps getting delayed. He has opinions about how I should be doing things. Let me guess. He wants you to be more traditional, more corporate, something like that. He thinks I'm too soft on the workforce, too focused on sustainability initiatives that cost money upfront. He comes from the old school of business where profit is the only metric that matters. Diana sipped her coffee, which was surprisingly good. But you don't agree. I think if you take care of your people and your planet, the profits follow. We've implemented better safety standards, increased wages, invested in green technology. And you know what? Productivity is up. Employee retention is up. We're actually doing better than we were under the old model, but my father still acts like I'm running the company into the ground. There was passion in his voice, frustration and determination mixing together. Diana found herself leaning forward, drawn into his intensity. He sounds difficult. He's from a different generation, and he's terrified of losing what he built, which I understand. But I can't run the company the way he did. The world's different now. People are different. Shirley returned to take their order. Quinn got blueberry pancakes with a side of bacon. Diana ordered chocolate chip pancakes and eggs. "So your turn," Quinn said after Shirley left. "How did you end up as a wedding photographer? That seems like it could either be incredibly romantic or incredibly cynical depending on your outlook." Diana considered this, wrapping her hands around her warm coffee mug. "A little of both, honestly. I started doing photography in college just as a hobby, but I was always drawn to people, to capturing moments of genuine emotion. Weddings have those in abundance. Even when the couple is nervous or something goes wrong, there's usually real love there, real joy. It reminds me that good things exist. That's a nice way to look at it. Of course, I've also photographed weddings where I knew the couple wouldn't last 6 months. You can see it in how they look at each other or don't look at each other. Those are harder. Do you ever say anything? God, no, that's not my place. I'm there to document what they want documented, but it does make me more cautious about relationships, I think. I've seen too many people rush into things because it looks right rather than feels right." Quinn nodded slowly. "Is that what happened with Trevor? The guy your cousin mentioned?" Diana should have felt defensive, but instead she felt oddly comfortable discussing it. "Trevor wanted the idea of me more than the actual me. He liked that I was creative and fun, but he also wanted me to be more stable and conventional. He kept talking about how I could take pictures as a hobby while getting a regular job. When I refused, things fell apart pretty quickly." His loss. Maybe. Or maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm too stubborn to compromise. Or maybe you just haven't found someone worth compromising for. Quinn's eyes met hers across the table. Real compromise is mutual. It's not one person giving up who they are to fit someone else's vision. The pancakes arrived, towering stacks of fluffy perfection, and for a few minutes they just ate in comfortable silence. Diana had to admit, these might actually be the best pancakes she'd ever had. "Okay, you were right," she said around a mouthful of chocolate chips. "These are incredible." "Told you. Vincent's been bringing me here since I was in college. Whenever things got too stressful, we'd drive out here at 2 in the morning and I'd eat my weight in pancakes and remember that life existed outside corporate expectations. Vincent seems like a good guy. He's the best. He's been with the family for 20 years, but he's more of a friend than an employee. My father hates that I'm not more formal with the staff, but I don't see the point in pretending we're not all human." Diana smiled. "I'm starting to think you're actually pretty different from what I'd expect from a corporate heir." "Is that good or bad?" "Definitely good." They talked through 2 cups of coffee each, the conversation flowing easily from topic to topic. Quinn told her about the time he tried to learn guitar and been terrible at it, about his love for terrible action movies, about how he secretly wanted to take a year off and just travel without any agenda. Diana shared her dream of doing a photography exhibit someday, her terrible habit of naming the plants in her apartment, and then feeling guilty when they died. Her fierce loyalty to her local coffee shop, even though the barista always got her order wrong. It was past midnight when they finally left the diner, and Deanna was surprised to realize hours had passed. Quinn walked her to the car, and she was acutely aware of how close he was, how easy it would be to close the distance between them. "I should get you home," he said, but he didn't move toward the car door. "Probably," Deanna agreed, not moving either. "Deanna, can I see you again? Actually see you, not just run into you at family events." Her heart did something complicated in her chest. "I'd like that. Tomorrow." "Or is that too soon?" "Tomorrow's perfect. I have a shoot in the morning, but I'm free after 3. "Then let's meet at 3. There's a gallery opening downtown I was supposed to attend. Could use some company, and I think you'd actually enjoy the artist. She does mixed media stuff with vintage photographs." "That sounds amazing." Quinn pulled out his phone and they exchanged numbers, fingers brushing in a way that felt electric. The drive back to her apartment was quiet, but not awkwardly so. Deanna found herself studying Quinn's profile in the dim light, the strong line of his jaw, the way his fingers tapped absently against his knee. When Vincent pulled up outside her building, Quinn insisted on walking her to the door despite her protests. "My mother would kill me if I didn't see you safely inside," he said. "You're a grown man running a corporation. And I'm still terrified of my mother. Some things transcend age and achievement." Deanna laughed, fishing her keys out of her purse as they climbed the 3 flights to her apartment. At her door, they paused, the moment stretching between them. "Thank you for tonight," Deanna said. "You turned a horrible evening into something really nice. Thank you for taking a chance on a stranger with good timing." Quinn reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear in a gesture that felt intimate and sweet. "I'll text you tomorrow with the gallery details." "I'll be waiting." He leaned in, and for a moment Deanna thought he might kiss her. But instead he pressed his lips to her forehead, gentle and warm, before stepping back. "Good night, Deanna." "Good night, Quinn." She watched him walk back down the stairs, then floated into her apartment in a daze. Her phone buzzed before she'd even kicked off her shoes, made it to the car. Already counting down to tomorrow, Deanna smiled, typing back quickly. "Same. Thank you again for the rescue and the pancakes. Anytime. Sleep well." She fell asleep with her phone on her pillow, a smile on her face, and the feeling that something significant had just shifted in her life. The next morning, Deanna woke to 17 texts in the family group chat, most of them speculating about the mysterious Quinn Donnelly and whether Deanna was dating him. Her mother had called twice. Aunt Cheryl had sent a private message asking if Quinn was single and what his intentions were. Deanna ignored all of it and focused on her shoot, a sweet couple celebrating their 10th anniversary with a renewal of vows. They were clearly still in love, finishing each other's sentences and laughing at inside jokes. It made Deanna think of Quinn, of the easy conversation they'd shared, and she found herself smiling behind her camera. At 2:45, she was showered, changed into a simple blue dress that made her eyes pop, and nervously checking her reflection for the 3rd time. Quinn had texted the gallery address and offered to pick her up, but Deanna had insisted on meeting him there. She needed to maintain some independence, some sense that she wasn't completely swept away by a man she just met, even if she kind of was. The gallery was in a trendy neighborhood Deanna didn't visit often, all exposed brick and expensive coffee shops. Quinn was waiting outside, looking unfairly good in dark jeans and a gray sweater that hugged his shoulders. His face lit up when he saw her. "You made it." "Did you think I'd stand you up?" "Honestly. A little. Last night felt almost too good to be real. I kept thinking I'd wake up and it would have been a dream, or you'd realize you could do better than a guy who still lives in his family's shadow." Deanna stepped closer, emboldened by the vulnerability in his voice. "I'm here. And for the record, you're not in anyone's shadow. From what I can tell, you're pretty amazing on your own." Quinn's smile was soft and genuine. He offered his arm, and Deanna took it, letting him guide her into the gallery. The exhibit was stunning. The artist had taken vintage photographs from estate sales and flea markets and incorporated them into larger mixed-media pieces, adding paint and fabric, and found objects to create new narratives around forgotten lives. Deanna was entranced, moving from piece to piece with Quinn beside her, occasionally pointing out details she loved. "Look at this one," she said, stopping in front of a portrait of a woman from the 1940s. The artist had extended the photograph with watercolors, creating a garden growing around the woman, flowers spilling from her hair and hands. "It's like she's giving her a whole new story. Maybe in the original photo she was trapped or unhappy, but now she's wild and free." "You see all that in the painting, don't you?" Quinn studied the piece more carefully. "I see a talented artist and a beautiful piece, but you see the story, the emotion behind it. That's a gift, Deanna." They wandered through the rest of the exhibit, talking quietly about the art and occasionally about themselves. Quinn pointed out a sculpture made from industrial materials, explaining how his company manufactured similar components. Deanna showed him how different lighting angles changed the mood of the photographs. After the gallery, they grabbed coffee from a nearby cafe and walked through the neighborhood, neither quite ready to say goodbye. The autumn air was crisp, leaves skittering across the sidewalk, and Deanna found herself drawing closer to Quinn's warmth. "Can I ask you something?" Quinn said as they paused at a crosswalk. "Sure." "What did you think when you found out who my family was? Be honest." Deanna considered her answer carefully. "I was surprised, and maybe a little intimidated, but mostly I was worried you'd think I'd only be interested in you because of the money, even though I'd liked you before I knew." "That's exactly what I was afraid of. It's happened before. People find out about the company and suddenly I'm not just Quinn anymore. I'm an opportunity, a connection, a way to climb the social ladder." "Is that what happened with your ex, the one you mentioned?" Quinn nodded, his expression darkening. "Melissa. We met at a charity function. She seemed different from the other women in my social circle. More down to earth, more genuine. Turns out she was just better at hiding her real motivations. When I proposed, she immediately started planning this massive wedding that was more about showing off than actually celebrating. And then I overheard her on the phone with her friend, talking about how she'd finally landed a Donnelly and how set her life would be. She never loved me. She loved what I represented. That must have been devastating. It was. But it also taught me to be more careful and more honest about what I want." He stopped walking, turning to face Deanna fully. "Which is why I need to say this now before we go any further. I like you, Deanna, really like you, but my life is complicated. There are expectations, family obligations, social pressures that come with who I am. If we do this, if we see where this goes, it won't always be easy." Diana's heart was pounding. "Are you trying to scare me off or warn you, because I really don't want you to be scared off." She reached out, taking his hand. "I'm not going anywhere. And yes, the money thing is intimidating. But you're not your bank account, Quinn. You're the guy who rescues strangers from awkward family conversations and knows the best pancake places and actually listens when people talk about art. That's who I'm interested in." Quinn squeezed her hand, his eyes intense. "You're pretty incredible, you know that. I've been told I'm too stubborn and too independent. By idiots, apparently." Deanna laughed and the tension broke. They continued walking, hands linked now, talking about everything and nothing. Quinn told her about the classic car he was restoring in his garage, a 1967 Mustang his grandfather had left him. Deanna talked about her dream of traveling to photograph weddings in different countries, experiencing different cultures and traditions. "Where would you go first?" Quinn asked. "Italy, maybe, or India. Somewhere with vibrant colors and deep traditions. I love capturing those moments where you can see centuries of culture in someone's eyes. You should do it. Don't wait for permission or the perfect moment. Just go." Says the man who wants to take a year off to travel but hasn't, Quinn grimaced. "Fair point. I guess we're both guilty of putting our dreams on hold for practical reasons. Maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe we should." They ended up at a small restaurant for an early dinner, continuing to talk as the afternoon shifted into evening. Deanna learned that Quinn spoke 3 languages, that he'd briefly considered becoming a teacher before family pressure pushed him toward business, that he still felt guilty about not pursuing his own path. Quinn learned that Deanna had almost gone to medical school to please her parents, that she still had nightmares about it sometimes, that choosing photography had been the scariest and best decision of her life. "You regret it?" Quinn asked. "Walking away from medicine?" "Not for a second. I would have been miserable, and probably a terrible doctor. I can't handle blood." "That does seem like it would be a problem in the medical field." "Right, but my parents were so disappointed. They wanted to tell their friends their daughter was a doctor, not a photographer. It took years for them to accept my choice. My mother still introduces me at parties as someone who takes pictures with this apologetic tone." Quinn reached across the table, taking her hand. "Your mother is wrong. What you do matters. You capture moments people will treasure forever. You help them remember the best days of their lives. That's not something to apologize for." Deanna felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed to hear that. Anytime." They stayed at the restaurant until the staff started giving them pointed looks, then walked slowly back toward where Deanna had parked. The night was clear and cool, stars visible despite the city lights. "I had a really good time today," Deanna said as they reached her car. "Me too." "Can I see you again? Maybe Monday? I have a family dinner tomorrow that I can't get out of." "Monday works. Though you should warn me now what kind of family dinners you have. Are we talking small, intimate affairs or full, formal banquets?" Quinn laughed. "Unfortunately, closer to the latter. My mother believes every meal should be an event. It's exhausting. Sounds like it. Good luck surviving. I'll text you if I need emotional support." Diana unlocked her car, but before she could get in, Quinn caught her hand, pulling her back gently. This time when he leaned in, he didn't stop at her forehead. His lips met hers, soft and questioning, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She definitely didn't want to. Diana kissed him back, her hands finding his shoulders, his arms sliding around her waist. It was sweet and searching, a first kiss that felt like a promise. When they finally broke apart, both of them were smiling. "I've been wanting to do that all day," Quinn admitted. "You should have done it sooner." "I'll remember that for next time." Deanna drove home in a daze, touching her lips with her fingers, reliving the kiss. Her phone buzzed at her red light. "Already miss you." "Is that too much too soon?" she typed back quickly. "Not if I feel the same way," which I do. The next day, Sunday, Deanna tried to focus on editing photos from yesterday's shoot, but her mind kept wandering to Quinn. They texted throughout the day, random thoughts and observations. He sent her a picture of his mother's formal dining room, complete with 3 different types of wine glasses per setting, with the caption, "Send help." She responded with a picture of her cat, Mr. Whiskers, sprawled dramatically across her keyboard. "At least you have wine." I have a cat preventing me from working. The texts continued through his dinner, Quinn sneaking away between courses to update her on the various family dramas and ridiculous conversations. By the time the evening ended, Diana felt like she'd been there with him, which was both amusing and slightly concerning given how fast they were falling into this connection. Monday morning, Diana had a consultation with a new client, a bride who wanted dramatic sunset photos on a cliff overlooking the ocean. It would be a challenging shoot, but potentially stunning. As Diana walked the bride through her portfolio and discussed ideas, her mind kept drifting to Quinn. This was getting ridiculous. She'd known him for 3 days. But God, what a 3 days. She was just leaving the consultation when her phone rang. Not a text this time, but an actual call, Quinn's name on the screen. "Hey," she answered. "Hey. So I know we said Monday evening, but something came up. My father wants me at the office for an emergency board meeting, and I'll probably be stuck there until late. I'm really sorry." Diana tried to ignore the disappointment that flooded through her. "It's okay. Work comes first." "Actually, no. Work has always come first, and I'm tired of it. But I do need to be there for a few hours. Could I see you after? I know it'll be late, maybe 8 or 9. Quinn, if you're tired after a long meeting, we can reschedule." "I don't want to reschedule. I want to see you, please." The raw honesty in his voice made Diana's decision easy. "Okay, come over when you're done. I'll feed you something that isn't formal dinner food. You don't have to cook." "I was planning to order pizza. My cooking skills are limited, remember." "Pizza sounds perfect. I'll text you when I'm leaving the office." The meeting must have been brutal because Quinn didn't arrive until almost 9:30. Diana heard his heavy footsteps on the stairs before his knock, and when she opened the door, he looked exhausted. His tie was loose, his sleeves rolled up, dark circles under his eyes. "Hey," he said. "Rough meeting. You have no idea." He stepped inside, and Diana was suddenly very aware that this was the first time they'd been completely alone together in a private space. But Quinn just collapsed onto her couch with a groan, dropping his head back. "My father wants to shut down our green initiative. Says it's too expensive and we need to focus on profits. Half the board agrees with him. I spent 3 hours presenting data on long-term sustainability and cost savings and improved employee morale, and they just kept talking about quarterly earnings." Diana sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Did you change any minds?" "Maybe. We're tabling the vote until next month so I can prepare a more detailed proposal. But I'm exhausted, Diana. Some days I wonder if I'm fighting a losing battle, if I should just step back and let my father run things his way." "But you don't believe that." "No. But believing in something doesn't make it less exhausting to fight for." Diana took his hand, threading their fingers together. "For what it's worth, I think what you're doing matters. You're trying to build something better even when it's hard. That takes real courage." Quinn turned his head to look at her, his expression softening. "How do you always know the right thing to say?" "Practice. I have to talk down a lot of nervous brides." He laughed, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. "Did you order pizza?" "Sitting in the kitchen staying warm, come on." They ate pizza sitting on her kitchen floor because Diana's table was covered with photography equipment. Quinn loosened up as he ate, the food and her company clearly helping him decompress. He asked about her day, and Diana told him about the cliffside wedding consultation and the bridezilla she'd dealt with last week who wanted photos of herself looking surprised, but only if Diana could guarantee she looked good surprised, not bad surprised. "Is there a difference?" Quinn asked. "Apparently. She sent me reference photos. It was very specific. Your job is weirder than I thought," says the man who spent 3 hours arguing about sustainable manufacturing with people who only care about money. Fair point. After pizza, they moved back to the couch, Deanna curling up against Quinn's side with a naturalness that should have felt strange but didn't. Mr. Whiskers emerged from wherever he'd been hiding to inspect Quinn, eventually deeming him acceptable and settling on his lap. "Your cat likes me." "That's a good sign, right? Mr. Whiskers hates everyone. You should feel honored." They put on a movie, some action thriller Quinn had mentioned loving, but neither of them really watched it. Instead, they talked about everything and nothing, comfortable in the dim light of Deanna's small apartment. Quinn told her about his best friend from college who'd moved to Japan to teach English, about how he missed having someone around who'd known him before the corporate pressure. Deanna talked about her best friend Emma who'd gotten married last year and moved upstate, how strange it was to have your closest person suddenly in a different life stage. "You want that?" Quinn asked quietly. "Marriage, I mean." Deanna considered the question carefully. "I want partnership. Real partnership, with someone who sees me and chooses me anyway. The wedding part is less important than the actual relationship." "You?" "Same. I was raised thinking marriage was about merging families and strengthening business connections. My parents' marriage was arranged, essentially. They respect each other, but I don't think they're in love. I want more than that." That must have been hard to grow up with, seeing marriage as a business transaction. It made me cautious, maybe too cautious. Melissa wasn't the first woman who seemed interested in my last name more than me, just the first one I was serious enough about to propose to. After that ended, I threw myself into work. Easier than risking getting hurt again. Deanna shifted so she could see his face. "What changed?" "Why risk it now with me?" Quinn's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing her skin. "Because you looked at me like I was just a guy at a party. Because you talked to me like I'm a person, not a position or a paycheck. Because when I'm with you, I remember who I wanted to be before I got buried under expectations." "Quinn." Deanna's throat felt tight with emotion. "Too much?" he asked, searching her face. "No, perfect actually." She leaned in, kissing him softly. This kiss was different from their first one, deeper and more certain. Quinn's arms came around her, pulling her closer, and Diana let herself sink into the moment, into the feeling of being wanted for exactly who she was. They eventually broke apart, both breathing harder, foreheads resting together. "I should probably go," Quinn said, sounding reluctant. "It's late and you probably have work tomorrow." "I do, but I don't want you to leave." "I don't want to leave either. But if I stay, I'm going to keep kissing you and I want to do this right, Deanna. Not rush it because I'm tired and emotional after a bad meeting." Diana appreciated that more than he probably knew. "You're right. But text me when you get home so I know you made it safely." "Deal." At the door, they kissed again, and it took serious willpower for Deanna to let him go. She watched from her window as he got into his car, and true to his word, her phone buzzed minutes later. "Home. Already planning when I can see you again." "Thursday." "I know that's 3 days away, but I have back-to-back meetings until then." "Thursday works. And Quinn, what you're doing at your company matters. Don't give up." The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Quinn's work schedule was brutal, with him often trapped in meetings or traveling to visit different facilities. But whenever he had free time, he spent it with Deanna. They went to museums and tried new restaurants and took long walks through neighborhoods they'd never explored. Deanna brought him to her favorite coffee shop where the barista got her order wrong, and Quinn charmed the woman into actually listening for once. Quinn brought Deanna to a classic car show, geeking out over engines and restoration work while she photographed the beautiful vintage vehicles. They texted constantly when apart, sharing photos and random thoughts throughout the day. Quinn sent her pictures of terrible office coffee with captions about missing the good stuff from her favorite shop. Deanna sent him shots from weddings, couples lost in their own happiness, with comments about how love looked different on everyone. 6 weeks in, Quinn invited her to dinner at his place for the first time. Deanna was nervous, unsure what to expect, but his apartment surprised her. Yes, it was nice, in a historic building with high ceilings and enormous windows, but it wasn't pretentious. The furniture was comfortable rather than showy, the walls covered with vintage concert posters and photographs that actually meant something. The kitchen, where Quinn was cooking when she arrived, was warm and welcoming. "You can actually cook?" Deanna asked, accepting the glass of wine he offered. "I can make about 5 things really well. Tonight is homemade pasta with vegetables from the farmer's market. Hope that's okay." "It's more than okay. I'm impressed." Dinner was delicious, and Deanna found herself relaxing completely, curled up in Quinn's space like she belonged there. After they ate, Quinn pulled her over to the windows, where they could see the city lights spread out below. "I've been thinking," he said, his arms around her from behind. "My family has this big charity gala in 2 weeks. It's a huge formal event, extremely stuffy, lots of important people trying to out-donate each other. I usually dread going. Sounds terrible. It is. But I'd really like you to come with me. As my date, officially, which means people will know about us, my family will know, it'll be a whole thing." Diana turned in his arms to face him. "Are you sure? We've been keeping this pretty private. Once we go public at something like that, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you, and I know my mother has been asking questions because apparently one of her friends saw us at that gallery opening and reported back. I'd rather introduce you properly than have her ambush you. Your life is very weird, you know that," Quinn laughed. "I know. So will you come? I should warn you it's black tie, extremely formal. My mother will probably interrogate you. Several people will try to figure out if you're a gold digger. It'll be deeply uncomfortable in multiple ways. When you sell it like that, how can I refuse? Is that a yes?" Diana kissed him, soft and lingering. "Yes, I'll be your date to your terrible fancy gala. Thank you. Having you there will make it actually bearable." The next 2 weeks were a blur of work for both of them. Deanna had 3 weddings, including the cliffside one that turned out beautifully despite challenging weather. Quinn was dealing with the fallout from his sustainability proposal, which had narrowly passed the board vote but left his father barely speaking to him. They saw each other when they could, stolen hours between obligations, but it wasn't enough. The night of the gala, Deanna stood in front of her closet having a minor crisis. She'd bought a dress, a deep emerald green that Emma had insisted made her look like a movie star. But now she was second-guessing everything. What if it wasn't formal enough? What if Quinn's mother hated her? What if she used the wrong fork and embarrassed him? Her phone buzzed. "I'm outside whenever you're ready. No rush." Diana took a deep breath, applied one more coat of lipstick and headed down. Quinn was leaning against his car in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, and when he saw her, his jaw literally dropped. "Diana, you look incredible. You clean up pretty nice yourself." She smoothed down her dress nervously. "Is this okay? I've never been to anything like this." Quinn took her hands. "You're perfect, and I promise, whatever happens tonight, we're in it together. If you want to leave early, we leave. If my mother gets too intense, I'll run interference. This is supposed to be us spending time together, not an ordeal. Okay, I trust you." The gala was at a historic hotel, all marble columns and crystal chandeliers. Deanna felt like she'd stepped into a different world as they walked inside, Quinn's hand warm and steady on the small of her back. People turned to look at them, whispers following in their wake. Deanna lifted her chin, reminding herself that she belonged here just as much as anyone else. Quinn's mother found them within minutes. Patricia Donnelly was elegant and intimidating, her silver hair perfectly styled, her dress clearly designer. Her eyes swept over Diana with an assessing look that made Diana feel like she was being catalogued and evaluated. "So you're the photographer," Patricia said. "Quinn has mentioned you. It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Donnelly." Diana extended her hand, which Patricia shook with a grip that was surprisingly strong. "We should talk later. I'd love to hear more about your work." It didn't sound like an invitation so much as a command. Patricia glided away, leaving Diana slightly breathless. "That went well," Quinn said. "Did it? I couldn't tell if she liked me or was planning my demise. With my mother, those aren't mutually exclusive. Come on, let me introduce you to some people who are slightly less terrifying." The evening was a strange mix of uncomfortable and unexpectedly nice. Quinn introduced Diana to colleagues and family friends, his hand never leaving her back, his pride in her clear. Some people were condescending, clearly skeptical about who she was and why she was there. But others were genuinely interested in her photography, asking thoughtful questions about her work and her artistic process. Diana met Quinn's younger sister, Rachel, who was in medical school and delightfully uninterested in the formal proceedings. They bonded over mutual eye-rolling at some of the more pretentious guests. "I like you," Rachel declared after her third glass of champagne. "Quinn usually dates women who are boring and appropriate. You seem actually human." "Thanks, I think. It's definitely a compliment." "My brother needs someone who sees past all this." She waved vaguely at the ballroom. "Someone who makes him remember there's more to life than corporate politics and family expectations." "He makes me remember that too," Diana admitted. "That it's okay to want more than what everyone expects." Rachel clinked her glass against Diana's. "You're definitely a keeper. Fair warning, though, Mom's going to grill you at some point. She's protective of Quinn after what happened with Melissa." As if summoned, Patricia appeared, gently steering Diana away from the crowd with a polite but firm grip on her elbow. "Walk with me, dear." They ended up on a balcony overlooking the hotel gardens, fairy lights twinkling in the trees. Patricia studied Diana for a long moment before speaking. "My son has been happier these past few weeks than I've seen him in years. That's either because of you or despite you, and I'm trying to determine which." Diana met her gaze steadily. "I care about him. A lot. And I know I'm not from your world, that I'm probably not what you imagined for Quinn. But I'm not interested in his money or his position. I'm interested in him. That's what Melissa said too. I'm not Melissa. And with respect, Mrs. Donnelly, you can't protect Quinn from ever being hurt again by treating every woman like a potential threat. He's an adult. He can make his own choices." Patricia's eyebrows rose, but there was a glimmer of respect in her eyes. "You're bold. I like that. Too many people treat us like we're made of glass because of our money." She paused, her expression softening slightly. "Quinn told me about your photography. He showed me your website. You're quite talented." "Thank you." "He also told me about how you met, how you talked at the party like he was just a regular person. That's rare in our world. Most people see the Donnelly name and suddenly we're not human anymore, just opportunities or obstacles." Diana felt some of her tension ease. "I did think he was just a regular person, a kind one who saved me from my aunt's interrogation about why I'm single." Patricia actually smiled. "Family obligations. We're having a similar gathering next month for Thanksgiving. Very traditional, very formal. Quinn's father invites all the board members and their families. It's political and exhausting." She paused meaningfully. "Quinn asked if he could bring you." "He did. He did. Which is significant. The last woman he brought to a family holiday was Melissa, and we all know how that ended." Patricia's gaze was sharp. So I'm going to ask you directly, Deanna. What are your intentions with my son? Deanna took a breath, deciding honesty was the only option. I'm falling in love with him. I know it's fast, and I know the complications that come with your family. But Quinn makes me feel seen in a way no one else ever has. He supports my dreams instead of trying to change them. When I'm with him, everything makes sense. So my intention is to keep doing this, keep seeing where it goes, and hope that I can make him as happy as he makes me. Patricia was quiet for a long moment, studying Deanna's face. Then she nodded, something like approval in her expression. Good. That's what I needed to hear. Welcome to the family, Deanna. Fair warning, we're a lot. I've seen Quinn deal with your formal dinners. I have some idea. Patricia laughed, a genuine sound. Come on, let's go back before people think I'm scaring you off. Quinn found Deanna almost immediately when they returned to the ballroom, searching her face with concern. Are you okay? My mother didn't give you the third degree too badly. Actually, we had a good talk. I think she might like me. Really? Quinn looked stunned. Don't sound so surprised. I can be charming when I try. They danced later, Quinn holding her close as they swayed to something classical and elegant. Deanna had never really learned to dance formally, but Quinn guided her with patient confidence. Thank you for being here, he murmured against her ear. For putting up with all of this. It's not so bad. Your sister is great. Your mom is less terrifying than advertised. And I get to dance with you, which makes everything worth it. Quinn pulled back slightly to look at her face. Deanna, I need to tell you something, her heart stuttered. That sounds ominous. No, it's good. At least I hope you'll think it's good. He took a breath. I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I'm pretty sure I already have fallen. I know it's only been a couple of months and that's crazy fast, but I can't help it. You've completely changed everything for me. Diana felt tears prick her eyes. That's good. Because I'm completely in love with you too. Have been for weeks, actually. I was just too scared to say it first. Quinn's smile was brilliant, lighting up his whole face. Right there on the dance floor in front of half of the city's elite, he kissed her. Not a polite peck, but a real kiss, deep and claiming and full of promise. Someone Wolf whistled. Deanna heard Rachel cheer. But mostly she just felt Quinn, the solid warmth of him, the rightness of being in his arms. When they finally broke apart, both of them were grinning like idiots. Want to get out of here? Quinn asked. Absolutely. They said quick goodbyes and escaped into the night, both of them laughing as they climbed into Quinn's car. Vincent, who'd been waiting, gave them a knowing smile in the rearview mirror. Where to, sir? Deanna's place, please. They held hands the whole drive, Diana's head on Quinn's shoulder, both of them basking in the glow of their confessions. At her apartment, Quinn followed her inside without asking, and Diana was grateful because she didn't want this night to end. They ended up on her couch again, but this time the kissing didn't stay innocent. Diana's hands found their way into Quinn's hair, his jacket ended up on the floor, and when he looked at her with a silent question, she nodded. I'm sure, she whispered. Everything that happened after was slow and sweet and perfect. Two people learning each other with care and attention and growing love. Afterwards, they lay tangled together in Deanna's bed, Quinn tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. Stay, Deanna said. Don't go home tonight. I was hoping you'd ask. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, and Deanna had never felt more content. The next morning, Deanna woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Quinn humming in her kitchen. She pulled on his dress shirt from the night before and padded out to find him making breakfast, Mr. Whiskers supervising from his perch on the counter. Morning, Quinn said, pulling her in for a kiss. I hope you like omelets because that's about the extent of my breakfast cooking. Omelets are perfect. They ate breakfast sitting cross-legged on her bed, talking about the previous night and laughing about some of the more ridiculous moments. Quinn's phone kept buzzing with messages, and eventually he checked it with a grimace. "My mother wants us to come to brunch. She says it's optional, but it's definitely not optional." Deanna groaned. "Right now, in an hour. We can skip it if you want, I'll deal with the fallout." "No, we should go. If we're really doing this, I need to actually get to know your family, even if they're terrifying." "You're amazing. You know that." Brunch at the Donnelly estate was exactly as formal and overwhelming as Deanna had feared. The house was enormous, all old money and tasteful elegance. Quinn's father, Richard, was there, along with Rachel and various extended family members Deanna couldn't keep track of. Richard barely acknowledged Deanna, clearly skeptical about her presence. But Patricia made a point of including Deanna in conversations, asking about her upcoming shoots and seeming genuinely interested in her work. Rachel kept the mood light, telling embarrassing stories about Quinn's childhood. And Quinn never left Deanna's side, his hand finding hers under the table, his presence a constant reassurance. Over the next few months, Diana's life shifted and changed in ways she never expected. She met more of Quinn's family and friends, slowly becoming woven into the fabric of his world. It was sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes overwhelming, but Quinn was always there, solid and supportive and loving. For Thanksgiving, Deanna did go to the Donnelly family gathering, and it was every bit as political and exhausting as Patricia had warned. But Quinn kept her laughing through the worst of it, and by the end of the night, several board members had asked for her card, interested in booking her for their own family events. Deanna brought Quinn to her family's Christmas celebration, which was loud and chaotic, and everything the Donnelly gatherings weren't. Quinn fit in immediately, charming Deanna's mother, bonding with her father over classic cars, and even winning over Aunt Cheryl, who declared him a nice young man with good teeth. "Told you the teeth were important," Deanna whispered to Quinn as they helped with dishes. Work continued to be challenging for both of them. Quinn's sustainability initiative was showing results, but the battle with traditional board members was ongoing. Deanna landed a major client, a celebrity couple who wanted her to photograph their destination wedding in Italy. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and Quinn encouraged her to take it even though it meant 2 weeks apart. "This is your dream," he said firmly when she worried about leaving. "I'm not going to be the guy who holds you back." While Deanna was in Italy, they video chatted every night, Deanna showing Quinn the gorgeous Tuscan landscape, Quinn telling her about the latest office drama. The wedding was stunning, and Diana's photos were some of the best work she'd ever done. The celebrity couple loved them so much they posted several to social media, tagging Diana's business. Within days, Diana's inbox was flooded with inquiries from couples all over the world wanting to book her. It was overwhelming and exciting and terrifying all at once. "You're going to need to hire an assistant," Quinn said during one of their video calls. "Maybe 2. "This is incredible, Deanna. It's scary. What if I can't handle this much work? What if I mess up?" "You won't. You're brilliant at what you do, and you don't have to do it alone. Build a team. Delegate. Let other people help you grow." Taking Quinn's advice, Deanna hired Emma, her best friend, as a second shooter and business manager. Emma's organizational skills balanced Diana's creative chaos perfectly. Together, they started building something bigger than Diana had ever imagined. 8 months after they first met, Quinn asked Deanna to move in with him. Not to his current apartment, but to a new place they'd choose together. Something that felt like theirs, not his. "I want to build a life with you," he said as they looked at apartments one Sunday afternoon. "Not have you fitting into my life or me fitting into yours." something new that belongs to both of us. They found a loft in an artsy neighborhood, full of light and space. It had room for Diana's photography equipment and Quinn's restored Mustang, which he was finally finishing. They moved in together on a rainy Saturday in June, all their friends helping haul boxes up 3 flights of stairs. That night, surrounded by unpacked boxes and laughing about where anything should go, Quinn pulled Diana close. "I love you," he said. "I love our life. I love everything we're building. I love you too, even when you leave your socks all over the floor. I'm going to work on that. Sure you are." A year after they met, Quinn's father finally retired and Quinn officially became CEO of Donnelly Industrial Corporation. It was a huge transition, filled with challenges and setbacks and victories. Diana was there for all of it, celebrating the wins and supporting him through the losses. For his first major decision as CEO, Quinn announced a comprehensive plan to make the company carbon neutral within 5 years, along with significant investments in worker safety and compensation. The stock initially dipped, and some board members were furious. But Quinn held firm, and within months, the company's reputation had transformed. They were featured in major business publications as an example of corporate responsibility. Young, talented workers wanted to join them. Profits, as Quinn had predicted, followed. Diana's business continued to grow too. She and Emma now had a team of 5, handling weddings and events all over the world. Diana got her dream exhibition, a show of her wedding photography that explored love across different cultures and traditions. The opening night, Quinn stood beside her, proud and beaming as people praised her work. "You did this," he whispered as a major gallery owner expressed interest in representing her. "You built this." "We did this," Diana corrected. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." 2 years after meeting at Marcus's engagement party, Quinn planned an elaborate evening that Diana sensed was leading somewhere significant. He made reservations at the diner where they'd had pancakes on their first night together, which should have been a dead giveaway, but Diana was somehow still surprised. Shirley, the waitress, winked at Diana as she brought them menus and coffee. Vincent was even there, sitting at the counter and trying to look casual. Diana finally caught on. "Quinn, what's going on?" He reached across the table, taking both her hands. "Do you remember what we talked about that first night? About wanting partnership, real partnership with someone who sees you and chooses you anyway." "Yes. You are the most incredible person I've ever met, Diana. You're talented and brave and kind. You support my dreams and challenge me to be better. You make me laugh and you make me think and you make everything in my life more vibrant and real. I don't want to imagine my life without you in it." Quinn slid out of the booth, getting down on one knee right there in the diner. He pulled out a ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds that caught the fluorescent lights. "Diana Preston, will you marry me?" Diana was crying, nodding before she could even get words out. "Yes, yes, of course yes." The ring slid onto her finger perfectly. Quinn stood, pulling her into a kiss while Shirley cheered and Vincent applauded. Several other late-night diners joined in, and Diana laughed through her tears. "You planned this with my favorite waitress. I've been planning this for months. I wanted it to be perfect, meaningful. Not some grand gesture at an expensive restaurant, but somewhere that actually matters to us. It's perfect. You're perfect." They ate pancakes at midnight to celebrate, calling their families and friends with the news. Patricia cried. Rachel screamed so loud they had to hold the phone away. Diana's mother kept saying, "Oh my goodness," over and over. Marcus sent a text saying he took full credit for getting them together. The wedding planning was surprisingly fun despite the potential for stress. Patricia wanted something formal and traditional. Deanna's mother wanted something big and festive. Deanna and Quinn just wanted something meaningful and real. They compromised on a ceremony at a historic garden, intimate and beautiful with only close family and friends. Deanna wore a simple, elegant dress that Rachel helped her pick out. Quinn wore a midnight blue suit that made his eyes look even more incredible. Emma was Diana's maid of honor. Rachel stood up for Quinn. During the ceremony, Quinn's vows made Deanna cry. He talked about that first night at Marcus's party, how he'd been dreading the evening until he saw someone who looked exactly how he felt. How Deanna had changed everything for him, made him remember who he wanted to be. How she was his partner in every sense of the word. Deanna's vows praised Quinn for seeing her, really seeing her, when so many others had looked right through her. For supporting her dreams instead of trying to shrink her to fit his life. For making her believe that love could be a partnership of equals, not a compromise or a sacrifice. "You make me brave," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You make me believe in us, and I promise to spend the rest of my life being your partner, your supporter, your biggest fan. I love you, Quinn Donnelly, with everything I am." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. The reception was at their loft, transformed with lights and flowers and photographs. Deanna had curated images from their relationship, from that first gallery opening to their move-in day to Quinn's first day as CEO. Their story told in pictures, moments of joy and laughter and love. They danced their first dance to something slow and sweet, holding each other close while their families and friends watched. Diana's head rested on Quinn's shoulder and she felt purely, completely happy. "Mrs. Donnelly," Quinn murmured against her hair. "I'm keeping Preston professionally," Deanna reminded him, "but I like how you say it. Deanna Preston Donnelly has a nice ring. It really does." Later, after cake had been cut and toasts had been made and everyone had danced until their feet hurt, Deanna and Quinn snuck away to their bedroom. Tomorrow they'd leave for their honeymoon in Italy, where Deanna would show Quinn all the places she'd fallen in love with during that celebrity wedding shoot. But tonight, they just wanted to be together, to savor this perfect day. "How do you feel?" Quinn asked, pulling her close. "Like everything finally makes sense. Like I've been waiting my whole life for this for you and I didn't even know it. Me too." He kissed her softly. "Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for taking a chance on the stressed-out guy at the party. Thank you for rescuing me from my aunt. Best decision we ever made." They fell asleep tangled together, as they would for countless nights to come. Two people who'd found each other at exactly the right moment and built something beautiful. 3 years later, Deanna stood in the nursery of their house, the one they'd bought in the suburbs with a real yard and space for Quinn's growing car collection. She was rocking their daughter, Sophie, who'd finally fallen asleep after an hour of fussing. The little girl had Quinn's eyes and Diana's dark curls, and she was the most beautiful thing Diana had ever seen. Quinn appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted and happy. "She down, finally. I think she's got your stubborn streak. That's definitely from you." He came to stand beside them, one hand on Deanna's back, looking down at their sleeping daughter with wonder. "I still can't believe she's real, that this is our life. I know. Sometimes I think about that party at Marcus's, how miserable I was before you showed up. If I'd left 5 minutes earlier, if you'd been late, we might never have met. I don't believe that. I think we would have found each other somehow. You were always meant to be mine, and I was always meant to be yours." Diana leaned into him, careful not to wake Sophie. "That's very romantic for someone running on 3 hours of sleep. Fatherhood has made me sentimental." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Come on, let's get you to bed before she wakes up again." They settled Sophie in her crib, both of them watching her sleep for a moment before heading to their own room. Despite the exhaustion, Despite the challenges of new parenthood, Diana had never been happier. Her photography business was thriving, with Emma now running most of the day-to-day operations, while Diana took on more selective projects and focused on her fine artwork. Quinn's company had just been recognized as one of the most innovative and sustainable manufacturers in the industry. They'd built the life they'd both dreamed of, separately and together. "I love you," Diana whispered in the dark, curled up against Quinn's chest. "I love you too. Always." Outside, the world kept turning, but inside, in the home they'd built together, everything was exactly as it should be. Two people who'd met by chance, bonded over dreading family questions, and fallen deeply, permanently in love. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, and that made it more beautiful than any fairy tale. And somewhere in the city, another party was happening. Another person was dreading the questions and the pressure and the expectations. Maybe they'd get lucky too. Maybe they'd meet someone who'd change everything, who'd make the awkwardness worthwhile, who'd help them become the person they were always meant to be. But that was their story to discover. Diana and Quinn had already found theirs, and they were living it, one perfect, imperfect day at a time.